Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. You are watching The Brotherhood of Gaming. I am William Morris.
And I'm Eugene Morris.
And this is going to be a podcast that has been a long time in the making. It's been a long time since we made one of those, right?
It's been a while. I mean, you talked about your the Kingdom Hearts 4 thoughts, and I thought that was great. And then once this news came out, I thought, well, since we're kind of the Tomb Raider guys for a lot of people out there, they might be interested to know our opinion, because, Will, something big has happened with Tomb Raider recently.
Daddy Square Enix has disowned his child.
Damn. So, as of the recording of the podcast yesterday, Square Enix has reached an agreement to sell... Basically, they're selling all their Western studio properties. Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, to this new company called Embracer Group. And we thought we would give our thoughts about this whole thing and our thoughts on the future of what the Tomb Raider franchise possibly holds.
Oh, for sure. There was a lot to unpack with this. It was very sudden and surprising.
You know what? That's the first thing that I got. Like when I first learned this on Twitter, and people were saying things like "Oh damn" or "Oh crap," and I'm like, "Oh well, what happened? Is somebody died?" Yeah, exactly. Then I heard that. I said, well, and then I read a comment. So this is about I'm assuming this is about Square Enix selling Tomb Raider. What?
Yeah, I know. Isn't it weird? Right now, let's go back 10 years when Square Enix even acquired Eidos.
So it was 2009, I believe. And was this right after or before Tomb Raider Underworld came out?
This was after Tomb Raider Underworld came out, and I think this was even after Guardian of Light came out. So,
right.
I believe Temple of Osiris. Now, of course, somebody I'm sure will correct me in the current comments. Temple of Osiris, I think, was the first one,
official one to be released under the Square Enix moniker.
And then they announced the reboot trilogy. And
so they acquired these studios, and they acquired these properties, not only Tomb Raider, but also another big one, Deus Ex.
Yeah, now let's go back to that.
Legacy of Kain.
Remember how it was that everybody was so confused as to why Square Enix, the daddy of RPGs, a very homegrown Japanese studio, would be interested in acquiring Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, and by result also Tomb Raider. It's just like, do they even know what they have? Are they aware of how Tomb Raider's success or popularity?
I always assumed it was Square Enix trying to establish more of their foothold in the Western market by acquiring more some well-known Western properties, because they were out there. You know, Eidos was kind of was kind of floating around, and they decided to swoop them up. And you know, personally, Bill, now this is just me, I always thought it was really cool that Tomb Raider was under the same house as Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. I just thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of neat. Square Enix had some really cool, interesting franchises.
And you want to know something? For the first couple of years, they were at least trying to incorporate Tomb Raider stuff into their stuff, because if you remember in Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, one of the DLC costumes for Lightning was a Lara Croft
from
costume.
2013.
Yeah.
Right.
So it felt like they were at least trying to see.
Lara did make a couple appearances in Final Fantasy games, and there's even a Final Fantasy that came out where she there's a very cool drawing, a cute
one of the phone games.
Yeah, where she's like animated or an anime style Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Which actually the artwork itself is beautiful, and so that was kind of cool.
People have even taken that artwork design and that character model and have put it in Tomb Raider Anniversary as a playable.
No kidding. I bet. One thing I've learned, Will, is that modders with computers nowadays can do anything.
Oh yeah, they really are a force for either good or evil.
If you could put Hunk from Resident Evil into Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and make him a playable character, which he is, you can do anything.
So going back on topic, I remember back when Square Enix acquired this, it was just such a weird time. Like, isn't that going to be weird? Like, from
that was your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it was weird because it was just... We know Square Enix, kind of like Namco, was a very, very hardcore Japanese studio.
Yes, they are Japanese through and through.
Yeah, and they love their RPGs, and that's what they're known for. And very rarely do they ever step out of that and do much of anything else. And usually the other stuff kind of has gone under the radar.
You don't really see anything like for example, you don't really hear anything like Capcom like acquiring an outside franchise from like an American. At least I don't think so. And there's like I can think of like everything that they have.
Yeah.
Now they sometimes outsource their games to other companies to produce.
Yeah.
But every franchise that they have is kind of in house.
Yeah, they don't really go beyond their.
They
stick to what they know.
Yes.
Which is unfortunately why a lot of franchises that they own kind of go under the radar because they just don't see a market for them. Like Einhander, which is another franchise that Square owns. It's like people want to see more of that, but it's good luck. But then they acquired.
Let's talk a little bit about Tomb Raider's time under Square Enix.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And then I hate to say this. From day one, when Square acquired Lara Croft, it has been absolute hell. And I'm not saying this as like their games were bad. It's not. It's just like the fan base has been completely divisive because of this.
Well, that happened before that, and that was basically because of Crystal Dynamics. Because there's two different factions here. There's there's Square Enix, and there's Crystal Dynamics, which took over and really kind of. They revitalized Tomb Raider, but at the same time, they kind of put their own spin on it, and they want to make sure they put their own spin on everything. Like you like there was no way they were going to do a remastering of the classic series. I mean, that's not what they were going to do.
No, I mean it's.
But you're right. It was under Square Enix where the Survivor trilogy happened. Yeah. And that's when you really saw the.
Yeah, I mean, people really gave Crystal Dynamics a bunch of crap, and look, I'm not gonna throw shade, but yeah, it's understandable somewhat because we do know that there were some people that were working at Crystal Dynamics that would say things that they probably really shouldn't.
When you look at the Legacy trilogy, like, yes, I know the classic can always point out the differences between the two, the classic and the Legacy, but at least, Lara still kind of looks like classic Lara and the most part kind of behaved like classic Lara. It's when Survivor trilogy came out, when Tomb Raider 2K13 came out, that's when things really saw the shift and focus of what Tomb Raider is and what it used to be.
But to be honest, the fans I always thought were very divisive because even now on Twitter, I see fans talking about the original Lara Croft saying that, oh, she's not a hero, she's a murderer, and I love her like that. And it's like...
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people believe that. A lot of... I can understand what they're saying. A lot of people look at Lara Croft as... let me just say my opinion. A lot of people see the classic Lara Croft as kind of an anti-hero because, well, she is robbing tombs and grave robbing basically, and going to other countries and taking things just for, get her shinies. She does good stuff along the way.
But at the end of the day, she knows what's good and what's wrong, and yeah, she does ultimately kill the bad guy. She's very much the Punisher in that regard.
But she's kind of, I guess the what they're trying to get at is that she's out for herself. Like she's really kind of a selfish character, because she wants those trinkets and those adventures for her own. If she does something good along the way, so be it. So a lot of people see her more as an anti-hero. Now, I see Legacy Lara Croft more like superhero Lara, where she's very Teflon and she's flipping around, jumping around, shooting things, and striking action poses and stuff. Like she's someone that very could fit very much into that, kind of like that American comic book kind of sensibilities.
And to be fair, they're still more or less true to the character because even though they wanted to add the whole mother-father drama thing to it, which I do feel they kind of ran into the ground.
Yeah.
She was still mostly true to the character and that she is still mostly doing this for herself and
I think she's more trying to follow her father's legacy.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people really didn't like is that she's doing this too much. They made it too much of a family thing, and
I'm fine either way, to be honest.
I didn't mind it too much, but I agree that I think it was kind of even the Survivor reboot trilogy was starting to do that a little bit with this whole Trinity thing and how her father was like framed by them. It's like all right,
yeah, with the Survivor trilogy, they really leaned hard into that. The whole because that was like the whole crux of the whole trilogy. She was a character that was now reborn to have a lot of doubt, a lot of self-doubt, and she was trying to live up to her dad, and that was kind of like the whole thing she was trying to do till the very end of Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
So yeah, the whole family thing I think just kind of became a tired plot device that like even I was getting sick of it, to be honest. But yeah, when when the reboot trilogy came out, it was just everything about it was very divisive. It felt like every argument under the sun was like, oh, it's just an Uncharted ripoff. It's this isn't my Lara. This is nothing like the original character. The gameplay is nothing like the original. Why don't they bring back the originals? Why don't they bring back the core Lara? Why don't they bring back core themselves? Because they were perfect and never did anything wrong. Like it's just like there was no winning here for anybody.
When you're Tomb Raider fans like us, you've been with the series as long as we have. You've heard it all.
Yeah,
basically.
it's just like there's no winning here. Everybody's damned if they do, damned if they don't.
And you know what? Well, the funny thing is, I recently bought the Tomb Raider bundle on the my PS5. I've been replaying the Survivor games, and I'm sorry, they're still fun.
Oh yeah, they're competently well-made games.
Yes.
They are very well made.
I'm a Tomb Raider fan, so I'm a fan of every generation of Tomb Raider. I think every generation of Tomb Raider is good at what it does.
Mm-hmm.
You know. What? So if you're a fan of this, a fan of that, a fan of this, a fan of that, you know.
But the one thing I will say before we head on,
I know the classic fans are very upset because they started it and they want the classic to return and all that.
And to be fair, I can understand that because yeah, even I would like to see the original Lara Croft go forward in some way, shape, or form. And granted, we have made the case that technically the Crystal Dynamics Lara from Legend to Underworld still can be the same Lara. There's nothing really there to say that she can't be. I mean, they retcon a few things, but there's nothing there to say that, oh yeah, this is absolutely different. Otherwise, why is Tomb Raider Anniversary a blatant one-to-one remake of the original?
Right.
Just with better controls.
Right. So I guess that brings us to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which came out, you know, and this was kind of a lull for a while. And we've been hearing talks about they're going to make Crystal Dynamics is about to make another Tomb Raider game. They were Crystal Dynamics actually didn't make Shadow. It was actually Eidos Montreal because they were taken off to do that horrible Marvel's Avengers game.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like that Guardians of the Galaxy
that
thing.
happened.
Yeah, and then they started this talk about we want to make a new Tomb Raider. It's gonna like use the new engine that's coming out, you know, and we're gonna stop talking about the father issues and all that. Then this happened, and I was kind of looking up in this situation. So Square Enix basically sold their Western studios to this company called Embracer Group. Now, I haven't heard of Embracer Group until now.
Yeah, even I was just like, who the hell is Embracer Group?
Well, it turns out that I think they started off with the Nordic. They started off as Nordic Games, and they apparently very quietly over the past few years have become. They're based out of Sweden, and they've just been buying up all these old IPs and all these different studios, and now. Don't look now, but Embracer Group has right now I think over 170 different IPs.
Yeah.
I mean they have more than Capcom right now, and they have all these different studios. Give you examples of the franchises they now own: Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain.
Yeah,
they also own Saints Row, Darksiders, Metro, and I think Borderlands as well.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of different.
They're buying in bulk.
They're basically doing the Disney thing. They're just buying up everything.
So when I heard about this, I was like, all right. So I figure what this company is doing is they're not necessarily a game developer studio. What they're doing is they're buying up all of these IPs, to which I can only imagine they're
buying up these studios that have them too.
Yeah, which either they're going to do one of two things. They're going to try to flip them and sell them for more than more.
Right.
Or they're going to outsource all of the franchises they have to competent studios that can work under them, to create these games for them.
Well, here I have a list of these are the THQ Nordic. They have Experiment 101, Biomutant, Piranha Bytes, Gunfire Games, Black Forest Games, Gilmore Studios, Rainbow Studios. They also own Deep Silver. That's the same Saints Row. Saber Interactive. They own Duke Nukem now. Gearbox Entertainment, which has Borderlands, Brothers in Arms, and now Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, which has Raider and Deus Ex and all those. So it's become a big company all of a sudden, or a big conglomerate, basically.
Yeah, which is very weird, and they must have some money going behind them because shortly a little bit ago, Crystal Dynamics was announcing that they've already begun working on this next big Tomb Raider game and such, and there's Tomb Raider events going on right now. So clearly, the money must be coming from somewhere, and if it's not by Square Enix, well, it must be these guys.
It's just a shame that another thing too about going back to Square Enix is that you kind of always felt that Square Enix didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Because it came like a meme that no matter what these Western developed studios did or how well their games was, Square Enix was never satisfied. It's like Square Enix is disappointed, which is crazy to think that. And it kind of goes to show it's like a stepchild and a children. Because think of all the problems that the Final Fantasy series has had over the years.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, weren't the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, despite its haters in the Tomb Raider fan base, wasn't that series relatively successful?
It was successful. It was successful, but it wasn't successful enough for Square Enix, who had these ridiculously high expectations, right?
It wasn't bringing in Final Fantasy money?
Yeah, exactly. Or not making up for the money that Final Fantasy was losing.
It definitely wasn't bringing in Kingdom Hearts money.
14, you know. But yeah, I mean, so they're no longer with them. They sold for $300 million, which is kind of cheap. You know, I think they're going to use it for something called blockchain. Square Enix is, so whatever. So
yeah, which people
Square Enix is going to be fine. They're going to be Square Enix. They're going to rely on their Japanese things.
Of course, people are very torn on Square Enix as a company right now because they have this whole NFT thing, which people are, of course, very much against, and rightfully so. Not sure how they're going to go through with that, or if they're going to go through with that, or even what this whole blockchain thing is.
Right.
People are kind of wishing that Sony would kind of buy up Square Enix.
Yeah.
Which I'd be fine with that. Like, I don't think it would matter that much.
Yeah. Well, hell, isn't Microsoft also buying all those other studios?
People were also suggesting why didn't Microsoft scoop up Tomb Raider or Eidos Montreal, or like, I don't know, maybe they weren't offered, and maybe they didn't know about it.
Yeah, there was that whole thing with Rise of the Tomb Raider when they had that Xbox exclusivity for a while.
Yeah, for a hot minute.
Yeah, for a hot minute, right. So anyway, so we've gone from there to Embracer Group. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what we think the future of Tomb Raider holds, because I think a lot of people need to remember Tomb Raider is still under the development of Crystal Dynamics. You know, the same people who are in charge of all those Tomb Raider games that you didn't like, they're still in charge of Tomb Raider.
So at this point, they've made more Tomb Raider games than Core has.
Yes! You are correct! Man, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You just blew my mind right now when you said that. Like, oh shoot, at this point, Crystal Dynamics has made more Tomb Raider games than Core Design.
Yeah, and like... the fan base is like, not to be fair, there are a lot of people that do support Crystal Dynamics games, and they do like their games, and they are good games. They're competently well-made games. Execution-wise, they can be a little glitchy here and there. I mean, you've clearly seen the speed runs and how crazy they can get. Yeah, Tomb Raider Legend, competently well-made game. It took the series in a new and honestly necessary direction, considering where it was. Mm-hmm. Tomb Raider Anniversary, like in your review, you said it's a little long, a little too ambitious for its own good.
Right.
But it's still a competently made game. Underworld, I felt like, even though it was the next generation after, kind of slipped a little bit, but it was still decent.
Yeah.
And then after that, we started getting like the spin-off games. We started getting like a Guardian of Light, Temple of Osiris,
the Lara Croft games,
the cell phone
Relic
games.
Run, things like that. Yeah,
but like basically, it was that in-between period, kind of like in Kingdom Hearts when we had Birth by Sleep 358 and Recoded. Like, before we get the next console game, we're getting all these spin-offs in between before we get to the good stuff.
Then you had the Survivor trilogy,
which it's so weird. People either love them or they hate them.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I always looked at them kind of like Star Trek 2009, where a lot of old school Star Trek fans didn't like that movie, but one thing it did do is it appealed to a lot of people who weren't Star Trek fans.
You want to know the perfect comparison the reboot trilogy of Tomb Raider has? Mm-hmm. Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow
the Survivor Trilogy was more successful than the Lord of Shadow.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, Castlevania Lords of Shadow was also a trilogy its own, and it took the Castlevania series.
I forgot. Yeah, the handheld game. That's
Mirror of Fate, which they re-released on consoles.
That is a trilogy. You're right.
They re-released. Yeah, it was a reboot trilogy. It was in its own self-contained universe, and it was just telling its own story that was unaffecting the rest of the franchise. It didn't negate the rest of the franchise or say that it wasn't going to continue. It was just trying something original. And despite it not being nearly as successful as they had hoped, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
The first one especially, I thought
the first
was
one's
beautifully
fantastic.
made.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching, if you haven't played at least the first Castlevania Lords of Shadow, because honestly, you could play that one in its own self-contained
It's
story.
probably one of the best looking PlayStation 3 games.
That game is beautiful.
And that ending is still like one of the most epic endings.
Yeah, obviously it continues on, but you could play just the first one.
Well, I mean the ending of the first game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You could play just the first one and
just have a satisfying experience.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart's in that game.
I'll just tell you, they had money when they were working on that. Kojima was involved with that game.
Yes,
like that's how much money.
There's this fun little Easter egg where you can go around and you can actually hear the Metal Gear Solid music in the back.
Yeah, in Lords of Shadow, there's a moment where if you go into the ventilations, you hear the Metal Gear jingle in the background just for fun. And that's the kind of fun Kojima has. He likes to break the fourth wall with his own brand of humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, they're all just video games and all just there to have fun. So if you can remember that.
Now, what happened after the Castlevania Lords of Shadow trilogy? Well, Konami released 2 collections. You had the classic collection, and you had the Game Boy Advance collection. Mm-hmm. It's both on the Switch. I have them both. I think that's the next thing that they should do personally. Either that or take a page out of Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and remaster at least the first 3 games.
Because I was thinking, all right, guys, I'm just going to be real with you. I don't think Crystal Dynamics is going to touch the original 6 games. And I mean, they're not going to touch the original games, period, because of the programming behind them. They had nothing to do with them. And frankly, I think everybody would be absolutely pissed if Crystal Dynamics went and started touching the coding and messing with these original games because they had nothing to do with them. But I think it would be a better idea if they went the reignited remaster trilogy, same way like you just mentioned with Crash and Spyro, where they remake these games from the ground up, try to emulate the old playstyle a little bit, but modernize the controls a little bit for the obvious new generation that just for some reason can't grasp how tank controls work, which I don't know, other than you guys really suck at video games. I'm sorry, not sorry.
I never had a problem with like when I recently did a review of Dino Crisis. Even that controls took me a little while to get used to it, but Tomb Raider, I can still play that game and not have a problem with it. I mean, it's really not that bad.
Because back then it was you either play the game and you get good at it, or you don't play.
You just get used to it. That's all.
Yeah, or don't play. And for a lot of us, that wasn't an option. We want to play. We don't want to not play.
Now, I think a remaster would be the way to go. Like the first one, you can remaster 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And then if that's successful, if the second one, you can try to do 4, 5, and 6. Although 6 would be a little tricky.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe we should just kind of ignore the 6th one altogether.
Or that, if you want to, maybe their next game could just immediately just say, screw it, let's just pick up where the classic one left off. I mean, let's see a trailer, seeing all these beautiful, luscious areas, all these tombs and outside areas. Then suddenly you see a backpack leaning up against a tree, and you see a hand pick it up, and then you look at the back and you see the back of her hair, the ponytail, and the glasses, and she turns her face, and it's the classic Lara Croft. She's back, guys.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, let's just pick up where Angel of Darkness left off, and let's continue to that. It's like, I don't know, dude, because that means people are gonna have to go back and play that game. And are you really gonna want to have to torture people with that?
That's actually what I was thinking. Like, something like that.
They'd have to remake it though, or very least make it into like a short movie or something. Because expecting people to go back and pick up.
Could you do it? Could you pick up? Maybe not right where Angel of Darkness left. Maybe if you like a few months after the events of that one, and then pick it up there with a new adventure.
I think if you had like one of those 30-minute prologue intros that were like at the bottom of the main menu that explains within 22 minutes, mm-hmm. like the history that led up to this. Right. So if people don't want to go and play it, because they've done that before, like Kingdom Hearts 3 sort of had something like that in its title screen, where you could go to the bottom and like click on a little prologue. And
Kingdom Hearts like 3 or 4 games doing that. The story so far.
Yeah, well, it's sort of had that where it's like this is what happened in this, and it's like I wouldn't say it was a really good way to catch up, but it's like it's something. It was a gross simplification, but yeah, if they wanted to do something like that and made a continuation to Angel of Darkness, and they made it completely new and original. I mean, they could, although I'm pretty sure they'd be damned if they did and damned if they did. It was like, where's Marty Schofield? Why isn't he writing? It was his original story.
Okay, well, would you then make a brand new Tomb Raider game that's not necessarily connected to the classic ones, but really takes a lot of its cues from the classic. It means Lara Croft's attitude and her background is fully like the was in the classic, and there's no Zipper Alistair or anybody, and you had a level where it's the manor, and you have Winston walking around farting all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
just with new graphics and new controls and just a new adventure. Would you want it to be photorealistic? Or would you mind them taking a more cartoony road like they did with Wind Waker, Zelda Wind Waker? What would you think?
I think we should continue the original classic Tomb Raider where they're self-contained stories.
Okay.
I mean, you can have like the trophy room in the mansion.
I get what you mean, because like the first three were real basic, were just their own separate stories.
But the only thing that connected them was in Tomb Raider 3 and Lara's trophy room, there were the stuff from the previous games in there. So you could look at it and be like, oh, there's the Dagger of Xion.
Well, we made a whole timeline off of it, so using that. So, yeah, but yeah, I see it. Like every game is kind of its own...
Yeah, and like they could even take a start of something like with Anniversary, where you can go up to these books and you can look at them and it has like a little dialogue tree under there. It's like, what if you go into our mansion, go into the trophy room that has all of these trinkets from older games, you click on them and it gives a little excerpt about where this was from.
Oh yeah, so in this new game, there's the manor section. She has the trophy room. She's looking around, and there you see like Curtis Trent's old discs there in a case. She's like, wow. That was a crazy adventure. So what happened there?
I'm a little fuzzy on how that one ended.
Fuzzy how that ended, but shit. Oh, hey, there's Thor's hammer. I don't recall exactly how I got that, but man, that must have been kind of nuts. Oh, hey, here's the sword. There's the dagger of Xion. Just like, whatever.
Why not? I mean, she also got the Ark of the Covenant somehow.
Yeah, there's the Ark of the Covenant, yeah. You have the statue of that god from Guardian of Light just hanging out there in her trophy. Like, hey, there's that guy.
I mean, granted, it could be... If they did that and they had, like, literally artifacts from all of her games, it would totally be like one of those old Spoonie moments where he's looking at the tapestry with all of these and he's just like, betrayal!
Yes!
That didn't happen!
Yeah, from Ultima. Yeah, let's just, like, whatever, like loose, super loose on the continuity. There's all these things all over the place. That did not happen.
That didn't happen in this continuity.
We're gonna go through this manner. We're gonna have the betrayal counter on the right-hand corner. Betrayal! But honestly, I do think that's why you look at Curtis Trent's disc, man. That was crazy. That was crazy shit I went through, man. Let me tell you.
I don't even know how that ended, but yeah, suddenly I cleared my name. Everything's all good. I got my house back.
There's a pickaxe hanging from the wall. A couple of pickaxes hanging from the wall next to a bow and arrow.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Betrayal!
Betrayal! Betrayed me!
What the hell is this game?
Because, like, honestly, now, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there, this might have been just a rumor, was there not a project in the works that said that they were working on something that was going to unify all of the timelines?
That was the whole spiel since last year. Unify the timelines. I don't know if that's actually real or that
was that a rumor or was there actually some backing behind it?
That's what they said, but maybe they just said just to try to get everyone's good side, or but maybe that would be an idea. They'll just throw everything in there. Like, why not? Like, there's been all these pictures of artists like the unified Lara Croft, a Lara with a bow and arrow and the two guns, or whatever, just trying to combine everything.
I mean, Death Battle did a pretty good job of it.
There you go. Yeah, that was like the ultimate Lara Croft. Like, Nathan Drake didn't stand a chance against that Lara Croft. But
yeah, going back to what you were asking me, it's like, yeah, I do think that we should go back to the original Tomb Raider. We can have a trophy room that literally does all of that, because I think it would be a funny... it would be a hilarious in-joke.
It'd be just hilarious seeing the classic fans just lose their minds.
But graphically, photorealism is good, but personally, I would like... Do you remember how the FMV cutscenes looked like in Tomb Raider 4? How they were just so drastically different from the pixelated cutscenes, like the full motion video cutscenes?
Yeah.
We have the technology to make those full motion video cutscenes now, so I would like to see the graphics look like that.
Or how about the Tomb Raider Reloaded cell phone game with that kind of cartoony Lara Croft? Would you mind having a game like that? or whether it's more similar to something like Ratchet and Clank, where it's more cartoony and.
Yeah, I mean, I would, to be honest, I wouldn't mind. I'd like the next Tomb Raider game if they were gonna follow the original timeline with core and stuff. I would like the graphics to look like Spyro Reignited Trilogy or Crash Bandicoot, because I think that era looked good. And I think those...
For the remastered ones, I can see that.
Yeah, and honestly,
like
I think...
cel-shaded sort of
I think that visual style is fun to work with.
Yeah.
It looks visually really good, and
it's funny, it's vibrant, it's bright.
And probably the best thing about it is it doesn't age as much.
That's a very good point you just made. Like, there are certain graphics that just age better than others. Like, I think that the Super Nintendo graphics just age better than the early PlayStation 1s.
Yeah.
Like, I know, when you have new technology, you want to take that next step, but I see what you mean.
Because, you go from PS1, PS2, PS3, you can clearly see the age, PS4 even, or even PS5, where it now becomes a matter of performance. You can clearly see the age from the new as they kind of get to the current. Currently, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake has kind of pushed the graphics as far as they can go if you've played it.
Dude, I started playing that. I haven't played much, but I'm like, damn, this is... Or another one is the new Gran Turismo game. Like, man, the graphics are just so good. Hell, even the reboot trilogy on the new PlayStation 5, they've upped the graphics, or at least upped the resolution. It's like, man, I don't remember this game's looking that good last time I played it, because it's on a better system now.
So yeah, graphically, I think we've pushed these games or video games as far as they can go as photorealism. Now I believe, as far as technology is going to improve, really now it's going to come down to performance and how much more can we put on the screen before the game starts to suffer.
I see the hair in her nose.
More or less, how much little more detail can we add to the already really good visuals, because it's gotten to the point now where if you play a game from one generation ago to the new generation, people don't immediately know like which version is this.
Right.
And I feel like if you have to ask that, then we've kind of peaked when it comes to graphics.
Yes.
So I think now, instead of trying to go for the photorealism where we've peaked, try to do something a little bit more visually impressive or visually dynamic, or something that's a lot more vibrant and colorful and creative. And I think that's where games like interestingly, as I'm getting older, I tend to find myself gravitating towards the more unique and colorful style of games like Ratchet and Clank, Spyro, and these cool platformers with unique graphical fun styles, cartoony looks, because they're very much in their own realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as much as I like all of these new games that look photoreal, like Resident Evil 8 and such, and it's like, yeah, they do kind of look a little samey after a while. And unfortunately, and I know this is a me problem, sometimes the graphics get a little too good, where it's hard to tell what I can and can't interact with and where I can and can't go.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, all right, so I'm in a forest right now, but something is clearly blocking me. Like an invisible wall is blocking me from going over here. So clearly there's a path they want me to go on, but the visuals are too good that I can't see the path.
Right.
Which was a little bit of a problem in Resident Evil 7 for me. But
as far as gameplay goes, I definitely want the worlds of the games to be as non-linear as possible. Now, not too non-linear, because then you run into the Tomb Raider 3 problem.
4 problem, really, because it's like, yeah.
Well, the thing about 4 is that, and I have a lot of nostalgic love for 4.
As you should.
But I do see what you mean, and I will say this. The first half of Tomb Raider 4, I think, is good. Mm-hmm. It's the second half where it kind of falls off a cliff, because the game gets like really obtuse.
Yeah, I'd say when it comes to Tomb Raider 4: The Last Revelation, there's three acts to that game. The first act is from the beginning of the game up until the train.
Yes.
Where she's heading to Alexandria.
Right.
That's the completion of the first act. And the first act, I feel, was tied together very well. Like, nothing was too big. Everything was still manageable. You still had to go from some paths back and forth here, but the environments weren't so big that you couldn't grasp what was going on. And it felt linear enough, but open enough that you could figure it out and manage it. When you get to Alexandria, and that's the second act, and the second act ends when you get to the City of the Dead. Mm-hmm. That, I felt, is starting to get a little too obtuse, where the
environment... You're like, oh god, come on. Like the Great Pyramid levels. Like,
yeah,
oh,
the environments are too open.
Right.
There's loading, like you're going like there's four separate loading screens to get areas that are all interconnected. And you have to somehow figure out these obtuse items you have to carry from one side of the map all the way to the other side of the map, and you sometimes have no idea where it is or what you can interact with or how it's supposed to go,
I know it's part of the fun, but you can't overdo it, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the previous Tomb Raider games, you knew that one level, everything was set in that one level.
That one level. You just have to find it, right.
Yeah, Tomb Raider 3 being the worst example, because I honestly think Tomb Raider 3 is...
level design for 3 can get really busted.
Tomb Raider 3 is very much a Kaizo Tomb Raider game. Like the level design in that game, I'm just gonna say
it's what I call a walkthrough guide game, because you need a walkthrough guide just to get through it. I'm just speaking for me and ourselves. I mean, if you can kick ass on Tomb Raider 3, so be it, man.
I'm sure if you've memorized the game, you know it like the back of your hand. But still, I stand by that the level design in Tomb Raider 3 is not good.
Right.
Especially in the South Pacific levels where you have like the kayak boat. Where
oh man, that was fun.
Because like you can take damage from that thing and die just from being in the wrong place, and like there's a lot of things in there that are just not fair.
Right.
Like damage that is out of your hands that you have no control of, and pockets of things that you're supposed to find and explore. And it's also, the game is way too damn dark.
It is very dark.
It's too like the game is overly reliant on flares that you never have enough of.
Yeah, you're in a dark room and
which honestly begged the question, why the fuck does she have flares to begin with? Where's a damn flashlight? Like, at least that's one thing Legend got right. It's like she had a
light source. So you can make it a open world to a point, but you don't have to make it like super linear.
You want to know something? I think the Tomb Raider the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, when it came to open world stuff, I think they did it just fine.
Okay, are you cool with the Batman sense? I could do without. I could do without the Batman sense.
Yeah, the Batman's. I mean, what? Don't make it so you need it.
I also thought of different difficulty levels, and I think one way that you can distinguish them, like maybe if on normal mode you have an auto save feature like you do from Tomb Raider 4, but the harder levels you have to find crystals, like you do in the first or the third one.
Well, don't say auto save. Like save you like into.
Not auto save, but
you can pause the game and save.
Pause the game and save. What I meant is pause the game and save whenever you want. Mm-hmm. But the harder level, you don't have that feature. You have to find a crystal.
There's a challenge.
But it's in the hard mode, so it's cool.
All right, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, like save crystals for harder difficulties. That's like, all right.
You have easy, you have normal, you have hard plus, and you have Laramus die mode. So there you
go. Don't forget and Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
Control wise, now obviously there's no way in this day and age are they going to go back to the tank controls.
And they shouldn't.
It's as fine as I am with them. I can recognize it is an age-old relic that was part of the time that was in, and for the time that it was in, it worked. Mm-hmm. It's not something that we need to use today. Again, that sort of depends on the game design. Like if you're gonna make a game design where you have fixed camera angles, then yeah, tank controls is still kind of your best friend.
Right.
But for Tomb Raider, which never really relied on camera angles to begin with, except for like those rare moments. Yeah, actually, there were quite a few moments, especially in Tomb Raider 3, where it did have fixed camera angles. Like if it wanted to show you a boulder coming behind you, it's like, yeah, good thing your tank controls are working.
I'll never forget when I played Tomb Raider 3. I went down this corridor. I avoided one boulder. I started running. Here comes the second one. I'm like, oh.
That's another thing about Tomb Raider 3 that's not fair. It's like the level design in the traps.
I think you were there when it happened. Dude. Yeah. You spent the whole night just laughing.
Yeah, the game design is ridiculous. Like, there's no way you're going to avoid these traps until you fall for them.
Right.
And I don't think that's good game design. But yeah, getting back on track. Control-wise, now, I think they would probably have to follow the, at least the Legend and Uncharted form of controls a little bit.
Yeah.
They could probably change it up a little bit where you don't have to rely on the character to grab a ledge. You still have to do that yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And frankly, there's a part of me that does kind of prefer it that way because there were too many times in these games where I have been burned thinking that, okay, I can make that jump. I know I can make that jump. I have made that jump, but the character Lara does not even attempt to make a grab for it. And she just kind of falls down in front of it. It's like the character model just doesn't reach it because that's not how the game wants to do it. And I'm like, that's bullshit.
Right.
So yeah, if I was in control of the grabbing, then yeah, feasibly you should be able to grab whatever you can within reach.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, honestly, I think was kind of a unique thing about Angel of Darkness, because even Lara was like, I don't think I can reach it. I'm like, we'll see.
We're about to find out, aren't we?
And it turns out you can.
Yeah, I remember that one area. Yeah, that's just like...
if you believe hard enough.
if you believe hard enough, you can accomplish miracles.
So yeah, I do think having more control over Lara's actions instead of relying on the AI to do everything for you would be a nice addition.
Right.
Instead of blatantly just reusing the same controls.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe there is a happy medium in there somewhere where you can please the older fans who like the original type of gameplay, but something for the newer fans where they feel like they don't have to completely learn an old archaic format of gameplay.
Right.
Like being able to press the triangle button to pull out your pistols, I still think would be a classic thing. There's no reason why they still can't do that. So yeah. I think there's a happy medium in there somewhere. Again, that's my dream idea of what a Tomb Raider game should go. At this point, with this new company having purchased the franchise, we have no idea where this is going. We have no idea what's coming out of this.
We don't know if they're going to continue doing what they were going to do or just scrap everything and do something else. We do know that something's coming out. I mean, they're not going to spend this type of money to acquire an IP like Tomb Raider and just sit on it. So something is coming.
And Crystal Dynamics seems to be pretty well, excited about this, at least. They made the big announcement talking about this. They're keeping it hush-hush. So if they're optimistic about it and they believe that it's happening, then you know what? I'm going to be optimistic as well. I have never hated any of the Tomb Raider games. Even the reboot trilogy, I acknowledge, Lords of Shadow, I liked them. I acknowledge that they were completely different and they were very much their own thing. But I wasn't going to just, hate on them for being different. I liked them. They're good games.
Yeah. Even a game like Angel of Darkness, with all its faults, I can still have fun with it.
It's a guilty... Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness is a guilty pleasure.
It's one you should enjoy with friends. Loved ones.
Tomb Raider... But it's a bad game. I know.
And I still love it.
But it's terrible. I know. And I need you to know that I know.
I need you to know.
That I know. You're right. You're absolutely right.
God, man, if we do another one of those charity marathons in November, we might have to play Angel of Darkness.
You know what? I think I did.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry, you did. You did do that last year. Oh shit, you beat me to it.
But actually, you know what I'm thinking we should do for the people who like our Tomb Raider stuff?
Yeah.
That people like our Tomb Raider stuff. They like watching us do commentaries over Tomb Raider. There's one thing we have yet to do. Why don't we do what Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin did, and we do a commentary over the movies?
We could do that too.
Now, obviously, we can't show the movies, but we could always share. We can share a time code, and people can watch the movie with us as we're watching it, and just listen to our commentary track over the films, and we could talk about how what the time was, and where we were at this point in life, and how Tomb Raider was with us, and what we thought about these certain scenes. I think that'd be fun to do.
I think that's a great idea. I think we'll do that.
Yeah, so you hit it here, guys. If you guys are hungry for more Tomb Raider content from the Brotherhood of Gaming outside of the reviews, which I do plan to do very, very soon, we could do some commentary tracks for the Tomb Raider. And I know some people pitched that idea, and I've just kind of been sitting on it. But yeah, I think it'd be a good time to do that, just to have more content.
So before we end this, let me ask Bill one question. Classic, Legacy, Survivor. What's your favorite version of Lara Croft? You have to pick one.
I pick our timeline.
There you go.
They're all connected. With the exception of the reboot trilogy, they're all connected. I still stand by that. And I know some people are like, you need to reboot. It's a soft reboot, but come on. Who cares? I just love Tomb Raider.
I think that's a good answer. I think I'll stick with that too.
Yeah, they're all connected until there's finally something definitive that outright says they're not. And so far, I have yet to see that. Outside of just little retcons here.
Boy, if you stop to think about it, the next Tomb Raider movie is kind of shit creek because it's continuing a storyline that's been long finished for a while.
Is that still happening?
It's still happening.
Because yeah, I gotta be honest, man, I didn't like the last movie.
The reboot movie?
No, I didn't like it. I thought it was, compared to the game, which was already a theatrical game to begin with, it's like, man,
Just play the game.
yeah, it told a better story.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, let us know your thoughts about the Tomb Raider franchise is in development. It's time under Square Enix, and it's new time under Bracer Group. And,
Do you guys think that the hatred for Tomb Raider and Crystal Dynamics has been warranted over the years, or do you think it's been blown out of proportion to the point where it kind of became a meme, just to hate on them? Do you guys hold hope for that Crystal Dynamics will do the right thing by the fans and the franchise and take it into the direction it needs to? Where are you guys currently on Tomb Raider? Let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
And of course, as you heard, we got plenty of more Tomb Raider stuff to come.
Of course. Meanwhile, guys, thank you for listening. You've been watching The Brotherhood of Gaming. I am William Morris.
I'm Eugene Morris.
And we will see you next time.
Do, 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 do. Boing.
Hey there everyone, did you like this video? If you did, why not give us a thumbs up and maybe leave a comment and watch some more of our stuff. Also, if you really want to keep up with the Brotherhood of Gaming, such as myself, William Morris, or Eugene, you should really follow us on our Twitters, links provided below, so you can see what's coming up in the future. And since, we have to play these games sometimes and record them, why not join us on our Twitch page where you can hang out with all of us as we do so and chit-chat about the games that we love so much. Lastly, if you want to help keep our dreams alive, you can support us in any number of ways, either by continuing to view our videos, like them, share them with all your friends and family and your peeps and your girlfriends, or you can also join our small Patreon and throw all your spare cash away. We'll even give you a shout out. Once again, thank you all and have a wonderful day.